Time for Thinking Real Estate. Lord Dwyer Schletke, starring this week with Jackie Austin. Is that right?
Looks right
Nobody
to me.
can, no one's a brighter star than Jackie.
Miller shoes and towel.
Whoa, now I gotta tell you, since you
There's
played
Steve
the Miller
Shotwell.
shoes, my husband was telling me the things that changed his life. He could point to a few things throughout his life that changed his life, and one of them he mentioned was Steve Shotwell. Isn't that
Okay.
sweet? I hope Steve's listening.
Well,
Apparently, when he had placid fasciitis, or I clearly am not saying it,
Clearly.
plantar fasciitis.
fasciitis or something
Yeah.
like that.
Steve cured that.
Steve cured it, and it made a difference.
A doctor of podiatry, Steve Shotwell.
And my husband, and I heard him tell that story again yesterday at Alpha Coney Island to some person, random person.
Yeah, he tends to tend to.
And so
see
yeah,
his
so
woes
Steve
too.
is
It's a
on
heartwarming story.
Steve is on his list of people and times in his life that were changed.
How about that?
I know, isn't that sweet?
Is that gonna go in his memoirs?
Right. I'm on that list. I just want you to know that too. I don't.
Oh, and you made it.
I made it. So, anyhow, here we are.
Here we are.
I thought we could talk about neighborhoods because over the next couple of years, I would really want to focus on our neighborhoods, especially within the city. We can expand on that once we get those going. We can go outside the city, but the city's the easiest place to do that. So I thought today would be a good time to start talking about our neighborhoods.
Okay.
Okay? What do you think, Jack?
Sure.
Jackie's getting her urban planning master's degree at the University of Michigan, and this was going to be one of her projects.
Was.
Yeah, but we're gonna. She's still gonna have to do it, even though it wasn't accepted in her school.
I'm not gonna get credit for it at school.
You're
I
not gonna get credit for it.
double credit there. So.
But there's four. I went to a neighborhood conference in Baltimore. I don't know how long, 6 weeks ago or so, and it was very interesting. Baltimore has a really good structure for their neighborhoods. They have 8 neighborhoods, I believe. And in our master plan for the city, we have 30, which I think we need to pare it down a little bit. That might be too many.
30.
30.
Well, it really depends on the lay of the land and things like that. So it may make sense to have that many, even in our small little town.
Right. Well,
So
so we'll see as we start these meetings. But there's 4 basic strategies, approaches to neighborhood development: community building, place-based, business-oriented, and workforce development. So I thought we could just start by tapping into some of those topics, and throughout the next couple of years, we'll revisit this topic to see where we are. So community building is, this approach channels the community assets such as the skills of the local residents. So if you have simple things like babysitters,
yeah.
you know, in a neighborhood, and you find out who those kids are that babysit, or maybe someone who does sewing, or,
I'm working on a project in one of my classes. Actually, it's my neighborhood planning class.
okay,
Where we're going to a neighborhood in Detroit and doing one-on-one interviews with the residents there, and one of the questions we ask is, what skills do you have and what skills do you know of your neighbors that are useful to the neighborhood? So we're finding out that people are cutting people's hair and things like that right in their living room, just doing little things like that. So we're hoping to make the suggestion that a new development go in where these people could take that actually and move it to a
commercial building,
commercial building,
and
so.
get more money for it and make a better living.
Mhm.
So the skills of the local residents, the power of the neighborhood associations, and neighborhood association, the city is looking at a neighborhood association policy that will help neighborhoods form groups, and then the Jackson Community Foundation is looking at possibly developing grant funding to help the associations get started, or once they're started, to do little projects within their neighborhoods.
30 sounds like way too many.
Yeah, you'd have to see the map. Most
Yeah.
of the neighborhoods were developed, or I don't remember, the the consultant that the city hired kind of came up with the boundaries in coordination with community engagement meetings that we had, along with Jackie and
The
myself.
neighborhoods do make sense, and I've looked at that map a lot because I was going to do a project on this, and they do make sense. It would just be a matter of maybe we don't have a neighborhood association for every single neighborhood. Maybe there's one association that covers 5 or 6 or
Right.
something like that, just for practicality purposes. But
Good example would be the Queens neighborhood. Right? I think right now it's defined as Michigan Avenue south to High, maybe?
I don't remember.
And then West Ave over to Brown. And maybe that could be expanded over to 4th and even across Michigan up to Wildwood. I don't know until we talk to the residents what they consider the boundaries of their neighborhood are. Because in the citizen,
Well, you'll get 100
well, we had,
Right.
different ideas there.
Yes, that will happen, definitely.
well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think you'll have some collaboration and
Well, I can use-
agreement on the boundaries to a degree.
To a degree, I can use my class example again, where in the interviews we're asking people to look at the map of the area that we've been told is this neighborhood, and they've done half a dozen to a dozen interviews, and every single person has given them a different set of boundaries.
Sure.
By
So-
a large margin, or just
Some of
maybe
them,
a block?
yes. No,
or-
some of them are including several extra streets or a whole other area.
Right.
So
And I think before we,
And are you getting labeled?
yeah, and so the consultant,
Do you see a problem there?
no, I think labeling a neighborhood is to an advantage. So
Okay.
if I live in the Queens neighborhood, for example, or Frogtown, or the Under the Oaks Historic District, that gives me ownership of my neighborhood and makes me more connected to that neighborhood, and makes it, in overall, that will help make me feel like I'm in part of a community, therefore making it safer,
Mm-hmm.
overall a place where I want to live. So no, I think it gives you a connection, basically. And I've had, in real estate, I've had people new to town say, you know, what do you call this area? Well, we have very few neighborhoods that have names. And if they do have names, then the realtors certainly don't know about them, right? So in the community engagement meetings,
I think they're all probably right now tied in with churches and schools.
they could be.
yeah, a lot of them are churches and schools, or you've got the
I live in the
The-
Parkside area, or you know.
right, yeah.
So your area, what would you call your neighborhood?
That's a good one.
Yeah, I had a client that came from the Detroit area, and she asked, well, she was trying to orient herself, and she said, well, what area is this? And I said,
Right.
well, this is like the northeast corner of the northeast area of Jackson.
Right.
So,
And I think the name they gave your neighborhood was Northeast, simply.
Okay. Well,
Which is-
sometimes I say Nixon or Northeast.
Right, and so Nixon would probably be a better name as opposed to
I think
Northeast,
there is a
right?
Nixon area, so that may be an area that could be combined or something, so, because I think there's 2 separate areas up there. So.
But when we went to, there was one we called Ganson,
Oh, yeah, West Ganson.
West Ganson, and when we went to a little neighborhood meeting over there on Hibbert Street, they didn't like that name at all. And they liked, apparently you know where the tobacco store is on the corner
Yeah.
of, so that used to be a market. And it used to be called the Highland,
Yeah. Highland
Island
Market.
Edition or something like that.
yeah, and that's what they wanted their neighborhood to be called.
Really?
Yeah, and so I don't care. I mean, it's not up to me to determine the neighborhood's name. It's up to the neighbors, right? The people who live there. So
Yeah.
you have a meeting and you kind of have.
That's what I'm saying. I
You
mean,
start
it's-
with that.
Yeah.
And so before we embed that as a city into our master plan.
Well, take that neighborhood.
Uh-huh.
You know, you could almost call it airport. It's
You're-
out toward the airport.
No,
but
you're
it's
too
not-
far.
Yeah, it's not far
You're
enough.
Blackman when you start talking about the airport.
Well, okay.
This would be between West and Wisner.
Ganson,
And
it's
Ganson.
surrounded by West Wisner, East and West, and north and south would be Ganson and north. But that, because you have the railroad tracks just south of there, you would
Well,
scoop.
Weston, no, you're way past Wisner.
No,
Aren't you out towards the airport?
no,
Okay,
no, this is just between Wisner, it's
okay,
Eaton, Hibbard Center, and Hallett runs between the, east-west between them.
where is the city line heading out?
City line is
Just
Carroll,
beyond West.
you know where Industrial Steel Treating is?
Yeah,
Like
okay.
their property is
I can
city
see
line.
it now, yeah.
Yeah, Brown Street. Brown Street, the east side of Brown Street is basically the north-south side.
Yeah, it's hard
boundary.
to not figure those houses just out on West Ganson are not in the city.
Yeah, they're not, no,
No,
no, no.
Okay,
So anyhow, it's, I think, defining our boundaries and, obviously you're always gonna have your shaded gray areas on your boundaries. If you're on West Avenue and if you're east of West or west of West, is that really two different neighborhoods? It's hard to tell. And as a realtor, I might take a house on, if a house is for sale on Hibbard and I'm trying to price it out, I'm not gonna stay within Eaton, Hibbard, and Center to get a price. I'm gonna jump across west and go into Lincoln, Bacchus, Bennett, Webb, those areas.
my initial thought though would be way too many. We need more like a dozen or
Right,
maybe 15.
and you may very well be right. I think until we start having the
That
meetings.
just sounds like so many.
The other
Yeah,
thing we have to look at when defining neighborhoods is what services are available in that neighborhood.
Mm-hmm,
So
30 to me would be Chicago, you know?
well, even Chicago, Chicago does have that many.
They
I'm
do
sure.
have quite a few, yes. I
Right.
actually should know this because I did a project over there.
So one of the other strategies in one of the other four is place-based strategies, which focuses on the community's physical resources. Place-oriented efforts seek to improve buildings, roads, utilities, telecommunication services. Place-based efforts also aim to transform brownfields into usable development sites. So, for example, over in Grand Rapids, there was a lot that used to have a gas station on it that sat there empty for years and years and years. That building had been torn down, but it was a contaminated site. And the neighborhood wanted that site turned into a park. So the community got together, raised some funds, they got the city on board and they turned this, once was a parking lot, gas station area into a park, and it made a whole difference in that community, or in that neighborhood. Another strategy is business-oriented strategies which seek to improve the neighborhood business climate by recruiting new firms, assisting existing businesses to grow, and by helping start new businesses. So you're taking those let's stay on the neighborhood by Hibbard. You got Roxy Cafe, Robin's Roost, Buzz Mobile, and the tobacco store. I don't know the name of the
I
tobacco
think it's
store.
just called the tobacco shop or
maybe.
something.
And then there's, I think
You got
it's,
the drugstore there,
you got CVS, you got Taco Bell,
tanning,
yep,
something or other.
yep, Pacific Tan, and then
Prolific chiropractic is right there now
right,
too.
exactly. And then you go to down to the other end.
Jackson Vision.
Yep. We're doing pretty good. There's an antique market there, or a flea market of some sort.
Furnival's.
Furnival's is down.
It's not very far from there.
Well,
It's down.
the building's gone.
It's gone.
Okay.
So it's a nice, beautiful vacant land. That family
The
video,
family video.
go down there and you've got Sereno putting in a new iStore,
TLC.
TLC.
TLC really anchors that neighborhood too. So.
Yeah, and then you got the real estate store, a real estate company, and I've been
Oh yeah.
I've been framed,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got
Aldi's.
the bank.
There's a lot. In
Yeah,
that
First
little
Merit.
neighborhood.
So you go all the way around the block, and those are all anchors to that neighborhood, and you get them involved within their neighborhoods to help keep it as strong.
All right.
Plus, they're gonna help the other side of the street for whatever neighborhoods are on the other side, right?
They're gonna service those other neighborhoods as well. Yes.
And don't forget the Coney Island. And then when you start looking at neighborhoods and you think about the restaurants you can actually walk to, how cool is that? So we have Casa Rodriguez is putting in a new restaurant over on Wildwood, 700 Wildwood. And so now if I live over on Wildwood, North Grinnell, let's say, I'm gonna have a restaurant that I can walk to. Or kids can stop at on their way home from school, from Jackson High School. And then the last strategy is workforce development strategy, which provides local residents with basic employment skills. The approach includes school-to-work programs for high school students, job training classes for adults, and job placement centers. So that's kind of working hand in hand with what we already have in place, which is the Cradle to Career. And Cradle to Career they have the community involvement section of their vision. So there's a lot involved with developing neighborhoods. Are you approaching any of those, are you using any of those strategies in your?
Well, my class, so basically the funny story about this class is it's a neighborhood planning class, and we got to school the first day and handed out the syllabus. The following day of class, we come in and he says, yeah, we're gonna throw out the syllabus because we've been asked by the city of Detroit to do a neighborhood profile. So our entire semester has become our entire class working on doing neighborhood profiles and case studies. So I'm on the case study group, which means I'm looking for other places that have done development similar to what this particular developer is looking at doing, and seeing how they've worked and what other options might be out there.
So what's the developer trying to do? Build new
there's
into an existing neighborhood, or?
There's an old hospital called Herman Kiefer over there. Huge, 526,000 square feet.
Wow.
Huge building, yes. And there's actually 2 additional buildings involved in the sale as well. And so he's looking to develop that. The city wants him to develop it in a way that actually develops the community as well. So incorporating small business opportunities or workforce development, different things like that. So we're looking at different case studies that offer housing, that offer commercial development. I'm looking at the plant in Chicago, which is all about small business, and actually it's a closed industry or closed loop program. So every piece of waste that they develop or that they produce gets reused in the same system, so they don't have any footprint on their building. So that's the program I'm looking at.
Wow.
It's quite interesting. So.
Well, there we go. That's a peek on things to come.
Good partnership, your class and the city of Detroit.
Yeah.
Right. And
So
plus.
if they're getting some free help there.
Well, they do, and.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, the communities go to the University of Michigan or any public, any course study like this, and they're called capstones, and they do projects. No different than the School of Information at the University of Michigan, working with the city of Jackson right now. We have a new listing at 468 Skyline Drive, 450,000, 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, over 2,300 square feet, and it sits on Pine Hill Lake.
I went past to South so bring us an offer.
Yeah, and that is a nice house. That has a wood basement, if I'm recalling correctly.
Been in there.
Very well built. And then we've had price reductions on 805 Southwest Avenue. It's down to $159.9. That's 4 bedrooms, over 2,500 square feet. It's a brick Tudor right there on Southwest Avenue, south of Christie, and very, very cool house. And then 502 Orange Street is down to $48.5. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath, over 1,000 square feet, cute bungalow. And we have Artitude starting.
Yeah, opening night is Thursday evening, 5 to 9, down at the Old Vermeulens building downtown, 135 West Cortland. Come on down, check us out. Our regular hours will start Friday. We'll be open Tuesday through Saturday, 11 to 7, and Sundays, 12 to 4.
What is Artitude?
Artitude is a pop-up retail holiday marketplace where we've got about 15 booths of artists, and
They're all juried artists, and we've got some pop-up events going on during that. There's a kids' fashion show along with a kids' weekend, the first weekend in December, and we've got some other cool things happening throughout it starts the 19th is the grand opening party, and then we'll finish up December 29th.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going through past Christmas.
For info?
Go to thinkjacksonmi.com or call me at 517-782-7011.
And if you're an artist interested in participating, call Jackie.
You want a house, call Laura.
780-3800.
Miller Shoes in downtown Jackson presents
Test and see with Johnston and Murphy Shoes for Men this month.